Welcome to another Whiskey review with me, the Whiskey Novice. Thank you for joining me for review number 172, part 2 of this series of, what do you call it? Baker's Dozen. That's the one. 13 12-year-old Scottish single malts out there for my reviewing, for your delectation. So, what are we looking at this time? Well, Dalmore 12-year-old. Ooh, boo, hiss. I hear a lot of you scream. Then why am I saying that? Well, Dalmore, if you are on your whiskey journey and you've moved a bit down your whiskey journey, you probably, Dalmore seems to get a bit of a name about it. There's a reason for that. They charge a lot, they add a lot of colour, and they don't really produce great stuff when it comes to it. I think that's why. So the Dalmore 12, 40% chill filtered, colour added, around the £60 mark. Let's get all that out of the way now. White and Mackay produced. What is the maturation? It's like white American oak, so bourbon casks, and rare European sherry casks, so bourbon and sherry. There you go. You can cut out the marketing crap. I've heard it all before. Let's just get into it, shall we? I'm not here to give this a kicking. I'll tell you that now. But some kicks might be thrown. Orangey, slightly sharp. Honey. Ginger biscuits. Apricot. Custard powder. A light oaky note in the background. There's also some hay, dry hay or something, certainly something a little farmyardy. Now don't get, listen, the nose on this I quite like. As a matter of fact, I like it quite a lot. It is a nice, rich, fruity nose, and when I say fruity, it's certainly not down those sherry notes. This ain't no sherry bomb by any means, but it's just quite a good balance. Rich orangey notes, and as I said, the honey, the gingerbread, you know, it's not bad at all on the nose. But what about the palate? Yeah, the same as I thought. My tasting notes. It's a bit flat and tasteless. It's weirdly sour, as in everything. Now, remembering that whenever I say about arrival, delivery, sweet and sour, sweet, sour, savoury, sweet, sour, bitter, etc., I'm talking about the map of the tongue. I don't know why I started doing this, but it's just something that I've got into. And when you're talking about the map of the tongue, then you're talking about the tip of the tongue picks up the sweetness, and then you get into the sour, the bitterness, the saltiness. Then the bitterness is right at the back of the tongue. Umami runs up the middle of the tongue, etc. And I know there are some slightly different maps of the tongue, but they generally tend to follow the same way. So whenever I say sweet, if I say it's sweet and sour, it means if that's just hit off that sweet sensor first, tip of the tongue, leading back, and then the sour notes start to kick near the back of the tongue. This is all mid-palate. It's even worse the second time around. I've never had a whiskey like it. I don't think that it just dodges almost everything that you expect and want it to be, and just aims for somewhere that it's strange. It's creamy. There's very little flavour with it. Orange again, yes. Artificial sweetener. Oak, all orange, definitely. It's orange notes. Some fruitier notes, some dark fruitier notes, but not sherry, not dried raisins or mixed pale or whatever, which I would usually associate with sherry. This is just gone. And the thing is then that finish as a result is short. It's a little hot. There's a little blackcurrant perhaps. You know what it is actually. You know what the finish is. It reminds me of having had, there's an orange, or I certainly I've had in the past, or in a past life, a soluble or diluting orange medicine of some kind. So that's what it leaves me reminds me of. It's one of those citrus powdered cold and flu medicines, and that's just what it reminds me. It reminds me of having had one of them, which I don't find terribly pleasant in the first place. So you did see me adding a little water there. I generally don't. When it's boiled at 40%, I generally don't add water. But when I was doing my tasting notes, I thought, what the hell? Can't make it much worse, can it? Now, in fairness, I did enjoy the nose before I added the water. And you know, the nose is, if anything, it's improved slightly again. It's a bit brighter. There's some sweet malty notes. Candied fruit, maybe even hints of chocolate in there. Leather, honey. Yeah, there is a very, very good nose in this. And it's bizarre how little of that shows up in the palate. Thin, sweet, vanilla, orange. Dull. And still all mid-palate. This is just all hanging around in the middle of my tongue. There's none at the start, none at the end. Yeah, nah. You know, I'm sure Dalmore has its fans. I'm sure of it. I struggle with it. I had the King Alexander expression very early in my journey. Somebody sent me a sample of it and I didn't enjoy it. As a matter of fact, I really, really struggled with it and couldn't understand why anybody would spend so much money on it. This, I said very early on that this is around the £65 mark. It is. It's around 55 to 65 usually, which for what it is ridiculous. This is what annoys me about this. If this was a £25 bottle of whiskey, I would have enjoyed it more than I am now. I still wouldn't have enjoyed it. It's still dull. But at least the price would have fit at what's in the bottle. At that price, at £60, £65, it's ridiculous. And I certainly wouldn't, and it didn't. I hung around for a long, long time, mulling over whether to buy this one and put it into a series, but I was going to have to buy and review a Dalmore at some point. So I thought, well, why not do it now? And I guarantee that people will say, yes, but try this one, try that one. There are better Dalmores, because I'm sure there are. There have to be. There have to be. This ain't it. This ain't it. Would I recommend it? No. Would I replace it? Hell no. Let's leave it at that. Yep, still mid-palate. So, if it's that poor, what would I recommend? Well, anything really. Make yourself a cup of tea. It'll be better. I'm going to recommend something. It's cheaper. It is cheaper, and it's better. And just in this case, I probably could have recommended many's another different whiskey. But I hooked around a bit, poured a few, and Tamdhu 12 was the one that I settled on and said, get yourself a bottle of Tamdhu 12. Because I like to keep them either cheaper or around the same price when I'm recommending something. I a good representative of a Speyside in the Tamdhu 12. The Dalmore should be shamed. And let her go home to his parents is basically the way I look at it. It's no, not good. So avoid Dalmore 12-year-old, in my opinion. Just buy a bottle of Tamdhu 12 or anything. I said this wouldn't be a kicking. It is a bit of a kicking. It's just my opinion. Remember, this is only my opinion. It's flaccid. It's tepid. It's lots of other things. I could use plenty of other words, which, you know, I know this isn't for children anyway, but it's certainly not for me. So we'll leave it at that, and I'll say thank you very much for joining me, as always. Thank you very, very much to my patrons. Should you wish to join that group, the details are in the video description below. I will also throw a little link up here to a little video about my patronage. If you wish to watch, you may do so. If you don't, that's all right too. I will leave it there and say thank you very much for joining me. Until the next time, my friends, here's to your good health. Cheers. Hey, thanks for watching my video. Please click and subscribe to be notified of further content.